What is the most accessible genre you can create a game in? This is something I've thought about for a while, and it's roguelikes. It's just roguelikes, sorry. Yeah, I'm not even leading you on. That's just the answer. Roguelikes are direct descendants of D&D, a game that famously doesn't require any visuals to play. It makes sense then that roguelikes would be mostly gameplay focused over anything else. A roguelike with bad gameplay sticks out like a sore thumb, while a roguelike with amazing gameplay and shitty everything else could still be stomached by most. This is what makes roguelikes accessible. You only need good game design skills in your set. Also, in this video, I will be referring to roguelites as roguelikes. I really don't like the distinction, so if you have a problem with that, then I'm locking you in a room with Papo for 30 seconds. Good luck. But before we go any further, we have to go back in time to the first of the genre and get Quelver off the menu. That's right. We're going back in time to the first of the genre to get Quelver off the menu. Rogue is the first roguelike. No shit. It's the first one, so every single game on this list is based on it, even if unintentionally. The game takes a lot of inspiration from D&D, which is famously not a video game. Yet. You need to adapt a few mechanics like stat checks and such to work with the format. This should be pretty easy. D&D is pretty open-ended, yet also very controlled due to taking place in linear dungeons. Since video games as a concept were so new, however, the game is pretty poorly executed. Yeah, I get it. Saying that is kind of like saying, oh yeah, the Romans were stupid because they didn't invent nuclear bombs, but I do have actual things to point out besides that. What are my actual issues with Rogue then? This is going to sound extremely nitpicky, but stay with me here. The hunger system is really weird. There's no way to know if you're about to be hungry until a message pops up after you start starving. And while you aren't hungry, you have infinite free healing, eliminating a lot of threats since you can heal up after every single encounter. The concept of hunger being an ever-encroaching threat you have to manage is really interesting. It was just super fumbled here. There are invisible paths you can't see unless you press the dedicated button to search for them. This is a waste of time and basically soft-locked me on my longest run since I couldn't see a way to progress. The combat system is, ironically, not very tactical, at least on earlier floors. It ends up being mashing the attack key until you win. There's like a 50% chance you will miss every attack no matter what weapon you have. At the very least, melee hits should be guaranteed with a very small miss chance. For its time, this game was good, but looking back from a modern lens, of course we see flaws. The fact it inspired a genre definitely counts for something, and every game created as a result of it managed to improve the mechanics drastically. So, how did they do it? Alright, we're back in the present. I couldn't find Quelver. I traveled back too far. Wait. Holy shit, is that Edmund McMillan?
Oh yes, I'm Edmund. I love Sonichu.
What? Anyways, The Binding of Isaac is probably the game here I have the most hours on. This is because, yeah, it's fun. Isaac takes the core structure of Rogue and mixed it with Zelda's dungeons. Isaac came out with decades of hindsight on both of these games. How did it iterate on the mechanics?
By turning it into Toho.
The Binding of Isaac was one of the earliest roguelikes I know of to ask, what if we added like 500 items and made it so nearly every single one of them could combo well with a build? Edmund took this idea and ran with it. No, wait, that's not right. He fucking built an airplane and flew across the entire world with this idea. The Binding of Isaac has one of the most meticulously well-designed core loops in any game that I've played. It's exhilarating going through floors and collecting items to eventually become this horrifying beast of destruction. However, that's a very surface level observation. Sure, it's fun to get super OP and win runs by beating every boss in 3 seconds, but if that was all there was to the game, it'd be okay at best. No, everything around this core idea is also extremely well executed. The base moveset of Isaac, even without his D6 starting item, still has quite a bit of depth on his own. You could shoot your tears while strafing to shoot diagonally. Your hitbox is small enough to weave through spikes without taking damage. The tears by default have slight knockbacks so you can prevent taking hits when cornered. Even the bombs have depth, with you being able to redirect them after placing them using your tears. The items only add on to this. Every single item will add more depth to your kit, or or change up your strategy in some way. 99 bombs makes it so managing your bomb resource isn't as important, allowing you to take more risks like guessing for secret rooms. Flight upgrades like Lord of the Pit add a new way to avoid enemies by flying over obstacles, as well as unlocking new paths. Money equals power will make you want to go into shops less, and instead either avoid spending money altogether or risk some of it for gambling. This is ignoring the fact that characters exist, who all play almost entirely differently and will encourage different strats. Blue Baby will always get double deals and angel deals, meaning you will have a lot more chances to get insanely good items. Kane has increased luck by default, meaning you should use pills and gambling machines whenever physically possible. Even Magdalene has a pretty neat usage since they're able to use their increased health as a resource to get more out of donation and sacrifice rooms. All of these individual pieces of depth combine together to make Isaac an amazing game. Every single run feels unique, even if you try to do the exact same steps. Different opportunities will always arise, and any risk you take will usually come with a fitting reward. If you want to design a roguelike, it should be a requirement to play Isaac. Isaac, however, is a super old game. There's a lot of stuff left over from early Isaac when Edmund was a lot worse at game design. There are bosses like Adversary who have really dumb attacks that are impossible to read on first encounter, or ones like Mask of Infamy who is really fast and needs to be hit from behind. Trinkets are also kinda You can only hold one at a time, so you think most would have a pretty big effect, right? No, you're wrong. Most range from super niche to downright useless. Stuff like Mom's Toenail are just really weird to strategize around due to being so specific. Who is using a 1-minute timer at a time when the foot shows up? If these were items, no one would pick them. Man, this game is pretty nice. Minus going down the floor so slowly. I really wish I could descend quicker. Oh, hey, look, an elevator. God damn it, I'm in Bazooki Land!
Miners.
I turned 18! I turned 18! Minus Descendants is a pretty neat iteration on the roguelike genre. It turned the game into more of a survival horror game by replacing the combat with stealth and task-based progression. This is genuinely an amazing place to take the genre, encouraging tactical movement and routing like the original Rogue attempted to facilitate. Minus Descendants involves you walking around not randomly generated floors, finding buttons and avoiding enemies. Every floor you also get to choose a permanent upgrade, with most upgrades having different tiers that slowly stack more onto the upgrade. It's relatively simple compared to most of the other games on the list, and I think that's to its benefit. It's super easy to hop in, play a round or two, and hop off. Most of the game's replayability comes from the gear system. Each gear can give different effects, and finding unique combos is really fun. My favorite gear from my fairly short playtime is the camera, just because it's a really neat take on a stun. The game really feels like a classic survival horror game with how limited your resources are. You only have a minuscule amount of power to use your gear. Every chase almost requires at least one stamina item to get away. You are constantly on the brink of death, and it gets really tense. There are a few issues with the game, however. The main one being the insta-kills. Every single enemy straight up one-shots you with very little leniency. This is honestly way too punishing for an endless game like this. Even a system where you get 3 hearts but can't regenerate them would be better. It just doesn't feel very fair. The issue is made worse due to stamina. You drain it super quickly and regen super slow. Enemies can easily combo you into oblivion if you don't stealthily weave around the map. These two issues combined together kind of sour the game for me. Want to know what's worse? The queue time! This game doesn't even have matchmaking, yet has issues with queue time! The elevator in the lobby leaves on 2-minute intervals. This means to start a game, you could be waiting exactly that long to even start. I don't get why this is a thing, it's just really annoying. All of these issues combo together to make the game a pain in the ass to play, which sucks because its ideas are so good. I wonder who also noticed the ideas being good. Wait, hold on. Oh no, the Minus fans figured out I was gaslighting. I gotta end the bit. Sorry guys, this entire time I was not talking about or showing Minus Descendants. I was actually showing the sequel game, Minus Elevation. This is Minus Descendants. Yeah, that game was way too ass for me to put in a video, so I decided to focus on the sequel instead, which improves on a lot. Sorry for rage baiting. Let me just get in the elevator again. I sure do hope nothing weird happens this time. I'm back in the fucking building again! Miners. I turned 18! I turned 18! Don't diddle me! Okay, stay with me here. Dandy's World is a really interesting case study into how not to make a roguelike. Yes, I've already made 4 videos about this, but my most popular one makes a lot of mistakes and needs remaking. This is basically the remake. Dandy's World innovated on the genre by turning the game into more of a survival horror game by replacing the combat with stealth and task-based progression. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's directly based off of Minus Elevation. I mean, they did iterate positively in some aspects. Insta-kills are dropped for a pretty decent health system. Stamina was improved to be a lot more manageable. Queue times were dropped to just 10 seconds at most, starting when you enter an elevator. This makes the introduction to Dandies a far more easy experience. However, the biggest difference between Dandylikes and Delverlikes is the choice of replacing the in-depth equipment system with character abilities and stats. Now surely, this means that all of the characters inside Dandy's World are carefully fleshed out and have a lot of depth to their kits to make up for the loss of equipment loadout, right? Right? You may argue that gear still exists as trinkets. You're wrong. The trinkets are either a stat boost that adds 0 depth, or a requirement to even play a certain character without pulling the hair out of your butt crack. They have 0 depth with no balancing. Dandy's World also iterated on Minus Elevation's meta progression by making it the main focus of the fucking game! Minus Elevation's progression simply exists to limit your options so you aren't overwhelmed while making builds. Dandy's World throws that out the window and stretches the progression out by hundreds of hours so it can keep you grinding instead of focusing on the game's actual mechanics. Dandy's World decided to add stuff like mastery quests, requiring you to play other characters before unlocking better versions of them. This means there are multiple characters that are literal filler because they're objectively weaker versions of other characters. The mastery also goes the other way too. There are some characters who require you to grind out a better character to unlock them, thus making it worthless to even try in the first place. Dandy's World's meta progression takes up so much of the game. The actual game part of the game has little to no depth. You don't get stronger over time minus some minor stat boosts. You don't go against any mechanically interesting enemies that force you to change up your playstyle. The game doesn't even have interesting consumable items. They just range from boost 1 stat to heals you. Though saying this, I think I've ignored the elephant in the room a bit too long. The speed stat. That's right, fuckers! This isn't a segment about how it feels as a roguelike! This is about how it feels fundamentally as a game! Okay. I'm going to read off the values for 1-star speed and 5-star speed. See if you can spot the problem. 1-star speed has 10 walk speed and 20 run speed. 5-star walk speed has 20 walk speed and 30 run speed. Can you spot the issue? Do you need like a door pointer or something? It's obvious, it's right there! The run speed of 1-star is the same as the walk speed of 5-star. These numbers were decided on early in development and were never changed. No thought went into this. This caused so many problems, it's not even funny! Enemies are balanced around 3-star speed. This means 1-star speed characters struggle hard to escape any enemy and need to use tons of stamina. This makes it so characters who have lower than 3 stars to speed need a really good ability to even be viable. Having different stats than others should not make your character objectively harder to play than others. This makes the game heavily stats-based, which is dumb when it's literally a class-based game. Class-based games should have fun and interesting playstyles by using unique movesets. On the flip side, 5-star speed characters can literally outwalk at least 80% of the roster. Outwalking is already bad, but you want to know what else this causes? It causes the worst mechanic I've ever seen in a game, perma-looping! Dandy's World is a cooperative game. There are 7 other players. If you take all the enemies on the map as the 5-star speed character and move them to a small corner of the map, what do you think happens? Let me lean in real close and tell you. The enemies never attack the other players. Without enemies attacking other players, they just sit on the machines. Machines just require you to sit there and extract for 30 to 60 seconds each. Oh, but wait! This just in, you also have to press space sometimes. Wow! Wait, what? This also made it so that when you try to play by yourself, the game gets 10 times harder because it's balanced around permalooping. Who would have guessed? There's also treadmill machines, which rub salt in the wound for low speed characters even more. Oh, you have low speed but good extraction stats? Too bad. Here's a machine that is slower for you specifically. Happy now? This game is so fucking ass. The developers don't seem interested in making a roguelike in any way. 90% of the content the past year has been skins, with the rest going from okay at best to downright dog shit. If you don't want to make a game in this genre, nobody is forcing you. You can make a different game. Famous Danny's World YouTuber Schmark, what do you have to say? So funny. Anyways, I made it back to my house.
This reminds me of Hot Furry.
Backpack Hero is, it's pretty good. It's not peak or anything, but it's fun, and that's what matters. Yeah, Backpack Hero takes the turn-based combat of the average RPG-style roguelike and combines it with an inventory system similar to Resident Evil. The items in your inventory are the only way to fight back, so managing the space and positioning of items is essential. Items aren't just static boosts, however. A majority of items directly interact with other items in your inventory. For example, you could get a whetstone that buffs all items in the same row when you use it, or a piece of armor that buffs other armor around it. The positioning of items also affects how they work, with some items just forcing themselves to the top or bottom of your bag due to weight. The character system in this game is also pretty well designed. Each plays with completely different mechanics that change up how you organize. Tote has a deck of cards that makes you place items mid-battle, forcing really strategic plays. Satchel has different tetraminos you place in your backpack that you can create different pockets with. And Crate, I haven't played the game enough to see what this fucker does. I'm not just gonna read the wiki entry and pretend I know what he does. I'm not Plapo. The main issue with Backpack Hero, though, is synergy bloat. Wait, that sounds like I'm making it up, but no, I'm not. That's the term I just came up with. There are a ton of different sets of items that all synergize with each other. Summer items, instruments, bow and arrows. This would be fine. However, the issue is caused by the fact a lot of these synergy sets don't combo with each other, only with their own set. If you make a build based around arrows and bows, you can't really incorporate summer items to their fullest potential. You gotta keep min-maxing your bows. This means whatever synergy you choose early game is going to be the only synergy you can really use for the rest of the run unless you get some insanely broken item. It makes runs feel really predictable and honestly not really that strategic. Well, that stank. I wish I had a good transition to the next.
More dust, more ashes, more disappointment. Football!
Okay, Nullscape is the last Roblox game in this video, which kind of sucks because it makes me go so peak. Nullscape is a movement and routing roguelike where you run around levels collecting gifts and then escape before it all collapses. Think Pac-Man if Pac-Man was in Dire Death 1 bounce. Nullscape's roguelike elements are definitely a lot more simplistic than other roguelikes. Enemies, curses, and upgrades are the only things you can change between runs. There's still a lot of variety, however, since there are essentially multiple different routes you can take throughout the run via the achievements. If you want to get the Conga Line achievement, you have to focus on getting a ton of husks in your run, and then have to deal with a giant army of shadow clones following you. If you want to get the Voidmount Scarf badge, you have to focus on getting one of every single enemy. If you want to fight the super secret boss, you have to focus on surviving as long as possible to get to level 50. It takes a similar approach to Isaac, where the route you take is carved out on the fly. The real focus of Nullscape, however, is clearly its movement, which it knocks out of the park. In early game, even if you feel slow, you still have so many options to traverse the stage depending on the situation. Look at this giant gap that I drew because I couldn't get this exact situation to play out in game. How can I get across it to get to the gifts that are gonna get destroyed? Well, I'm playing glider, so I can just like glide across, right? No, you're wasting time! The gifts are about to collapse! Instead, I could use a jump pad to start my glide with a massive speed boost, requiring better positioning, but giving me more time to cross the gap. Late game Nullscape only makes this part of the game even better. Your options for movement get nearly tripled as you collect more upgrades and the map increases in size. Take the exact same scenario, but now you have every upgrade. How do you get those gifts? Well, you don't need the bounce pad anymore since glider already has insane airspeed by default. If something like Oblivion is preventing you from gliding, however, you can just run over there on the ground. You have really good base movement now. You can also avoid wasting stamina from your ability by instead just jumping across the gap, since you basically have a triple jump late game. Of course, I'm only using glider in this instance. The game has more classes than that. Nullscape's classes are all amazingly designed and have their own utility and niche. Want to go fast as fuck on the ground and break trip mines? Play Charger. Want to have a free double jump as soon as you start the game? Play Diver. Want to fly across the map and micro-optimize your every movement? Play Spirit. Statistically, you will like at least one class's playstyle. What class do you main, famous YouTuber Flameworks? Wow, thanks for the input. See how you can make classes feel different without making some objectively better? Quelver? Nullscape's only real issue is the fact the game can become a complete joke in bigger lobbies. Only one player has to beacon for every other player to survive. This means solo play is a lot harder since death is instant. The devs made up for this, however, by directly buffing solo and duo players with special upgrades that make them gain more currency and move faster. Thanks, devs. You didn't commit a Quelver and make solo unplayable. Nullscape is generally the only Roblox game I can wholeheartedly say is good. Even then, I would not recommend you go out of your way to play it if you don't already play Roblox. It's not worth it to give Roblox any of your time at this point, and Nullscape is the only reason I still hop on from time to time. If the devs ever make a Steam port, I don't care how much it costs, I'm buying it 3 times. That is not a threat, that is a promise. Even if it's priced like Switch 2 games, I will not care. The devs can have all of my money. I think that's the last of them. Wait, what's that sound? Gnomes single-handedly revived my faith in the tower defense genre. It's the best tower defense game since PvZ1, and I need to glaze it as the final game of this video. Gnomes is a roguelike turn-based tower defense game. No shit, you have to get through multiple waves, placing different gnomes and supporting objects to slowly build up a defense that will hold back enemy forces. There are 5 things that make Gnomes the best roguelike since Penis Van Zesty 1. 1.
The military.
Each starting kit is pretty unique, which is impressive with only 3 to 4 items each. The starting kits can range from, okay, use archers now and make the range your greatest advantage, to, today, I gave this one gnome 90 pounds of cocaine to see what goblin soup tastes like. 2. Colonization. The maps in Gnomes are all pretty neat. Each will put an emphasis on a new element and a unique layout. The jungle has fertilized soil all over the place instead of right next to your base, so you need to figure out a strat to get around this. The desert has cacti you can build around that will damage enemies. The swamp has the swamp. Yeah. Some maps also have unique bosses and enemies, such as the one map which focuses on explosive enemies that break down your forces. This one kicked my ass. 3. Rain cells. Gnomes has dynamic pathing, meaning enemies will take the shortest possible path to your base at all times. This means the amount of time you have to deal with enemies entirely depends on your ability to make efficient paths. This could have easily been done poorly. I've played a few games with this exact style and it ended up just being, okay, time to make a really cramped squiggle. Yay. Here though, the random generation of maps significantly enhances this. There are tons of spaces you can't build on without getting the proper tool, and even then it'll cost more money. It restricts you in a way that breeds creative problem solving and strategization. 4. Late stage capitalism. Gnomes has a pretty simple loop for its upgrades and progression. Place plants that generate money, play round, get upgrades that will either help you get more money or aid you in battle, and repeat. Just like kits, however, the plants you place have a ton of variants that all do different things. There's pumpkins that spread each day at an increased cost. There's bamboo, which doesn't produce money but acts like a wall that spreads. There's rice, which can be planted in swamp water to make more money off the land you got. Every single mechanic in this game has some neat strategy to pull off of it. I love it. Yay! What? Okay, yeah, that was my big roguelike thing. This was initially intended to be a retrospective on the genre, but it ended up being a review of a bunch of different roguelikes instead. Hopefully I pointed out some useful things for people already making a roguelike that'll give you inspiration for a cool mechanic or something. Honestly, I just wanted to make a love letter to some of my favorite games, not you, and analyze how they do stuff. I got nothing else to say. Sleepy, do you have anything to add? Thanks.